Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Oh yes, I'm here, and we are doing another episode of Bitstorm. We're going to jump right into some ramped up click pitch, and this is a game where we each have a random phrase generator in front of us. And on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we're going to get an adjective and a noun, and we're going to jam them together, throw them together into a wonderful game design. Hopefully. And then we'll throw it away, and we're going to do it a bunch of times. So let's have fun with it.
Let's go for the record. 3, 2, 1, click.
Tart membrane.
Qualifying expertise.
Okay. So tart made me think of some sort of baker. Like baking tarts, like a fruit tart.
Immediately what came to my head was jam or like a lemon tart or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this is some sort of because membrane. Obviously, it does not bring me to that sort of mind. But maybe are you baking some sort of tart that has a membrane for some reason? Is this like maybe this is some sort of incubation tart?
Okay.
Birthing through baking.
Yep. And the qualifying expertise comes from
your,
the fact that
the midwife baking the tarts.
God, you've just put some horrible imagery into my head, and I'm not sure whether I can.
It's a wonderful process. There's nothing to be horrified about. It's fine. The amniotic sac just gets put into the tart casing. Baked in the special incubation oven. That's not harmful at all.
Placentart?
3, 2, 1, click. I'm not sure this is an actual word, but anyway. Slipperier bouncing.
Memorable northern.
Ooh. Okay, well, northern makes me think like snow.
Yes.
As in northern hemisphere.
It also makes me think of, like, the Northern Lights sort of thing. Which...
So maybe you're maybe you're seeking out the Northern Lights, like bouncing.
On a pogo stick.
Well, yeah, bouncing makes me think of, like, some sort of platform thing. Is this a Commander Keen sequel?
Done a few of those.
Well, you said pogo stick.
I know. And I'm ashamed that I said it. No. I don't know. We haven't had like a bouncing sort of platformy game that goes north.
Well, you know how everyone's favourite parts of any platform game are the ice levels where you can't control your player properly and you slide around? Let's just make a whole game of them.
They already did that. It was called Ice Climbers. And you had to go north of the screen, which is up. Okay, memorable northern. I'm definitely picturing some sort of Northern Lights as the thing that you're aiming for. If this is a platform game, and you're going through lots of different areas, is it like your typical sort of platform game, or is it one of those like 3D endless runner sort of games?
Yeah, I could see that.
But with an actual plot and with like a destination in mind.
Yeah, well, we've done something similar to that in the past. I think we did a Terminator-based one, but I like this as a different mechanic of like it's more of an endless climber. More like a doodle jump esque sort of thing, or
okay.
Or the opposite of a downwell.
Okay, yeah, I do like that. Why am I now getting this picture of like a fast-paced rock climbing game where you're having to jump from handhold to handhold and sort of get your feet sort of placed before you can move on to the next one. And
yeah, I like the idea of having to sort of aim your jumps and grab on at the right time. So there's a timing based aspect and a precision based aspect and a time pressure behind it. That could be cool.
What is the time pressure? Is it the lava that's coming up from underneath you?
There's been the Earth's magnetic shield is failing, and so this is the last Northern Lights there will ever be. So you're trying to get there on time. You've got a countdown. There's a countdown.
And what happens if you don't get there in time? Or what happens if you do get there on time?
If you get there on time, you get to see the Northern Lights before the Earth is incinerated for not having a magnetic shield anymore. If you don't, just incinerated. Just the incineration bit.
Okay. So it's pretty bad if you miss it.
I mean, yeah, you'll ruin your last moments on the planet. So, everyone wants to die staring at something pretty.
That's how I've always wanted to go.
Don't we all think about that every single day?
I could die on this podcast right now and I'd be very happy.
That's just because we've got video on.
3 to 1 click.
Yeah. Scald enchantment.
Chief wealth.
Okay. So, Scald as in SCALD. I'm sort of picturing someone with really weak fire magic. They can enchant things to kind of heat up to the point that it's uncomfortable to hold.
Yep.
Is this sort of a battle? Is this a disagreement between like the chief of a kind of a tribe of barbarians or something, or a non-magical tribe
race? Yep.
Yeah. And the sort of the wizard faction, the wizards in their ivory tower.
I kind of like the idea of this tribe that they either kidnapped or just they helped this young fire mage as a young boy, and they sort of promoted him to their sort of not chief as such, but they're like general or something, or like some sort of healer sort of thing. And it's only when he sort of comes of age that they sort of say, oh, well, actually, we're not your real family. Your real family.
Okay. Yeah. Or at least he finds out in some. I mean, this is like a classic hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
Gets the call, heeds the call or whatever. I don't know the actual terminology for the most part, but yeah, I like this. That gives us a good jumping off point for, and the reason he can only scald things is just he's never had the training for his magic. He's got these minor, magical powers, but the story is about him sort of going off,
finding his place in the world.
Yeah, finding the Mage Academy or whatever. And is this a Harry Potter / like Name of the Wind style adventure?
No, I think this is more, you think that you're special, but then when you get to this area, you're just the same as everyone else. Like, in fact, because you haven't been brought up with all this stuff, you're actually worse off.
Okay. You know what it is? It's fucking Billy Madison, but for wizard school.
Yeah.
Because you're like 19, but your skills are such that you have to basically be in like elementary school.
Yeah. I just love it, and it sort of takes that whole magical journey, and then you get there, and it's like,
then
oh my god, you have no skills. All you can do is scold things. We're gonna have to back to elementary school, and you're there in like preschool, learning how to make water hot, and
yeah, exactly, like how to boil water and light flames like candles. Okay, I love that. Is this like a point-and-click adventure kind of thing? I feel like that's sort of the vibe.
Yeah, point-and-click with a little bit of actiony stuff, sort of like maybe even a when you think about Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, how you have like the actiony sort of side of things. That occasionally you'll have like some sort of fight that you need to go into.
Yeah, I like that. Particularly, yeah, because you basically that's where you get to use your spells, right? You get to fire off your spells that you've been learning, and initially you've just got fuck all, and it's like a school fight. It's a schoolyard bully. It's like a fucking 11-year-old who can throw fireballs because he's like 4 years ahead of you. and you have to use your ingenuity. Or maybe you just, like, grab him. Maybe you just use your raw strength to stop him from casting spells.
And you realise all the stuff that you've actually learnt from the chief of, I'm thinking of, like, orcs or something like that. Like, you always knew that you were different, but you were so different that you looked totally wrong. And but it's the brute strength that you now learn.
When will my tusks grow?
Oh, they'll come in. You're just a late bloomer. Yeah.
When will my baby pink skin become ragged and green like yours?
It won't, because you're a special boy.
But I don't want to be special. I want to be an orc like you.
Shut the fuck up.
There's the old...
Stop whining!
There's the old Finagle orc attitude I know and love. Memories. I like this a lot. And so what's the kind of... Because, I mean, we could play with so many of the Harry Potter-esque different tropes going into the school and stuff. And do you find your kind of Harry Potter style little trio or group of friends?
Yeah, I think they're all the outcasts.
You're trying to, like, tag along.
They're sort of all the outcasts. They're all the kids who don't really have, the same sort of powers as the bigger kids in the
Yeah, okay. So
which, when you think about it, is very much what Harry Potter was. Like, Harry Potter wasn't the most gifted magician. It was just that he was thrust into this position of...
he was useless most of the time. He just he had quick reactions and he got arsey about it a few times. And
in this, our character is not special. His group is not special, and all they're trying to do is just find their way in the world.
I like the idea that... So let's think about his group. So we've got this character whose name is Timble. It has to be somewhat orcish. That's not it. Or like unusual. Timnug. They call him
Tim for short. Tim the Enchanter.
Tim the Enchanter. And then I feel like, so I think this is this a world where everyone, like, the only magic people have is fire magic? Like, it's just all these fire mages. And then one of your other outcasts, they have, like, wind magic or something? Like, or they have something else, or, like, healing, or, I don't know, some other, transmutation or something. And so they're outcasts because everyone's like,
I mean, everything went to hell when the Fire Nation attacked. I mean...
Yeah, that's an exact quote. Everything was fucked when the Fire Nation attacked.
So it turns out that one of your friends can control water and earth and air and fire, and his name is Aang.
The Schnavatar.
No, I kind of like the idea of it. It's just fire. There's no other elements or anything like that. Like,
well, but that's why, and I think one of your outcasts though has some other sort of magic, like that's why they are outcast and are different. But then that helps you in some way, right? And they haven't been trained either because there's no one to train them in that style of magic. So they're kind of the scrappy,
the first airbender.
Yes, and the name is Zhang. It's starting with the end of the alphabet instead of the start of the alphabet. All right, let's just move on from that then.
3 to 1 click. Sorry, I couldn't get away from the last airbender, and you kept on bringing it back to airbending. Darling, send.
Melodious pouch.
Ooh. Anthropomorphic.
Mm-hmm.
Kangaroos.
Oh, okay. Playing music somehow by stretching their pouches like a drum.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking more along the lines of it's a love story
Okay.
About a kangaroo that's gone off to war.
Ooh, war against the emus.
Yep. And so a lot of the story takes place in like the correspondence that's going back and forward.
Okay. And he's a musician.
She's a musician.
She's a musician. She's off at
fighting
war.
in the war.
Right.
Just twist it up a bit. She's the one fighting because she's the one who has the pouch. And
yeah. She keeps her little ukulele in her pouch to write songs about her darling back home.
Yes.
Okay. So, hop-based gameplay.
Bouncing, yes.
Bounce-based gameplay.
Now, what else do we know? We know that kangaroos cannot go backwards, so it's always going forwards.
Is that a fact?
Okay. It is. It's the way their tails actually stop them from being able to go backwards.
All right, so you can't get stuck in a corner.
So, in other words, kangaroos are always, your best infantry because they can only go forwards.
Right. Interesting. How would a kangaroo army take out emus? Is this just pure, like, melee? Is this, like, old style?
Lean back and kick with a powerful force. Box. Or soothe their hearts with music.
This is about the kangaroo who stopped a war through her ukulele playing. Interesting. I'm trying to sort of think of the way forward for this. Is this an action-based game or is it more narrative? Like, are we telling this narrative through more, like, dialogue stuff?
Why not both? Have the action interspersed, like, disperse some story around in this as well, but have some action with some
we're talking
real,
like huge Call of Duty-esque battle scenes.
I'd love massive battle scenes, sort of like the end of PUBG sort of battle scenes of just craziness going on.
Ooh. That's interesting. Maybe this is a battle royale thing. That could be. Because I'm just thinking like 50 kangaroos versus 50 emus is kind of cool.
Yep. And they're all sort of being pushed into the one sort of choke point.
Yeah, by bushfires. Just not to get too insensitive about how horrible they can be. But from a thematic point of view, there's a bushfire coming and for some reason it's, the last two, there's only limited resources. So the kangaroos and the emus are fighting each other.
But the cool thing is you can have DLC coming up that is all about when the emus and the kangaroos come together to fight the real menace, which is the dingoes.
Yep.
And the rabbits. And the cane toads.
All the introduced species. It's the natives versus the imports.
Yep.
All right, I'm just thinking about, are we keeping this purely melee then? Like, or are we
it's mainly melee, but there are different classes.
Okay. So what are your kangaroo classes?
Boxer.
Yeah, makes sense.
You've got the kickboxer.
Boxer, kickboxer, kicker.
Bard.
Bard. Well, that's where the melodious pouch comes in. Unless it's all music-based. No, that doesn't.
No. Okay, so
is your bard like a healer?
All your that's all your kangaroo side of things. What do the emus have?
I mean, you got a runner, you got a pecker, you got a long neck, you got a gulper.
You've also got you got a glider. So they
just get on the hang glider because they don't fucking have wings. Or not like wings that do very good at gliding.
Yeah, well, what I'm thinking is scientists on the emu side have created these
suit.
Mechanical wings that can just burst out.
I love that every other animal is just like in their natural form, and then there's this fucking emu with a hang glider suit.
Oh fuck yeah! They're like full on, robotic emus.
Actually, I kind of like that the emu side is all about tech, and the kangaroo side is more about just like melee, strength. But they've also got music,
yeah,
which is buffs and healing and stuff.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any ranged classes as such.
No, I think this is an up close and personal kind of game, and it's about doing things like attacking from above, so the kangaroos can like jump really high. And yes, the emus, have different methods of getting up close, whether it's the glider or, they can run faster, I think.
Yeah, they can move faster and they can attack with less strength, but they can move faster and attack
and they're
faster.
more agile in general.
So the DPS is around the same.
Yeah, well, that's it. You got to keep it balanced up. But, they can go backwards. I think your Gulper does like area of effect sound-based attacks.
It really disgusts all the puts a disgust meter on the screen that
status
you hear too much of it.
No, that's cool. I think I'd be interested in a battle royale that was based around melee and traversal, effectively.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Especially given that the the whole thing about kangaroos is it has to be forward. So within reason, like you can
of course,
turn around on the spot somewhat,
yeah,
but your speed comes from you're hopping forward the whole time.
Yeah, I think once you get speed going, you find it hard to change direction. Like it's a slow direction change, whereas the emu can turn on a dime and it can still run fast, but probably not the top speed of a kangaroo going forward, like continuing forward sort of thing.
Especially once you get some jumps happening. But yeah, I think the idea of being able to, bring in your other local flavor of animals and that sort of stuff as well.
Oh, yeah, you can summon a koala.
Oh, I 100% expect a koala to be like the general sort of thing, being lazy and sort of, planning everything.
The koala's always at the center of the circle. You show up there, it's just like, hey, don't take my eucalyptus. I've got chlamydia.
Yeah, I think season 2, kind of like where Fortnite sort of took everything, or at least series 2 or whatever it is. They had lots of different seasons, and then switched it off into a new version. That's where you bring in the dingoes. That's where you bring in
new factions,
the platypi and wombats and stuff, and they're like
thylacines. I think you could expand
that's in the Tasmanian DLC. So you got the devil and the
devil and the tiger.
Devil and the tiger. Mm-hmm. 2 for the price of 1.
Nice. All right, 3, 2, 1, click.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Living formal.
Herd sight.
HERD?
HEARD. So 2
herd
senses.
And sight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that this is very, very much based around the sensory.
Yeah. Well, either that or you go the opposite and
you take those away.
You take those away and bring in some representation for the blind or deaf or both communities. I don't know how you play a game if you're blind or deaf, or if your character is blind or deaf. That's kind of tricky.
Well, they've done it somewhat before with one or the other. There was a game Blind in which you can't.
Yeah, one or the other for sure. I'm regretting saying that, so cut that out.
So herd sight. So
herd
senses.
Sight. Yeah, okay. I wonder if you could mix though, because herd sight made me think of seeing sound waves in some way, visualizing sound waves.
Yep.
I don't know how you'd hear the visuals. It could be tricky.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of what is it when you can hear colours,
synesthesia.
Synesthesia. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe somewhat presenting that as part of the.
It could be interesting to really tie the sound into the visuals, where based on what you're looking at, the soundtrack or the ambient sounds kind of change in some way. Could be really cool. Do some cool stuff with sound design where, whether it's colors or whether you do it around particular types of objects or something. So the player eventually makes a connection where it's if I hear the faint sound of seagulls when I'm looking at something, then it's got to do with magic. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to tie together. Or maybe it does to make it easier. Maybe it's to do with the ocean. But but that it's,
and it's
almost
blue.
but that it's almost solving puzzles through picking out a variety of sounds that you're hearing. And maybe in some cases you like can't only look at one thing, so you have to, you're looking at two things and you're getting this overlapping soundtrack of these different sort of sounds, and it's like, okay, well, I'm hearing a church bell, but that could apply to either of these, but I'm also hearing someone scratching nails down a chalkboard. So the answer is this left object. I don't know.
And what were your words again?
Living formal, which has nothing to do with what we've done so far.
I do like the idea of this being about someone who's never realised that they had synesthesia, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you kind of like going along with the player in the fact that they don't know that this is how they are supposed to connect these things together.
Okay.
But have it going through some sort of mundane sort of thing, like they're in high school going towards like their formal or something like that. Like just trying to get through.
Oh, I see. You're trying to bring those words in like that. Yeah.
Bring the mundanity into
a formal dinner party or something, or you set it like the setting. Or maybe this is like a classic murder mystery sort of thing at a formal dinner party. And the way that you're solving this mystery is then through your synesthesia.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of you look at someone and she's in a red dress and you get like dun dun dun.
It's just that's whatever you hear when you look at a red.
Yeah.
Like bright red. You look over at an apple, dun, dun, dun. Ah, fuck.
You walk into the red room and it's like, bum, bum, bum.
You just like, you can't go into you can't go into that room. Well, that's an interesting mechanic, actually, that certain colors are just so overwhelming and you represent that through the sound that your character literally can't go in there.
I'm thinking what you could use as a way to go through the game and be able to make it through is that you can actually put on some glasses that
like
somewhat change the color to something much more calming.
That's interesting. Having to balance the ability to endure certain colors, but seeing them correctly with seeing them off color, but being able to go into those spaces is interesting, because then you have to you almost have to know, okay, I'm putting on these color shifting glasses, so anything that's red will now be green, so I'm not going to hear super loud sounds. I'm going to hear the sound of bacon frying when I see green, but that means it's actually red, so I have to like keep that in mind as I go through this space to like map that back and sort of keep those connections of the colors and the sounds in your mind to get a clue effectively. Yeah.
And, have it so there's a physical reason as to why your character doesn't want to go in there and it's like, go into the room. It's like, no, I can't go into that room, blah, blah, blah.
You can't just have the player take their headphones off and still be able to go in. For sure. Maybe you've got like some sort of decibel in a decibel meter or something, or like anxiety meter around the sounds you're hearing or something.
I like the idea that you actually can have sort of like almost cardboard tubes that you can put on that really narrow your focus to like a smaller section, so you're only seeing a little bit at a time. Because I'm really picturing this in VR, like the idea of having a ray shoot out from the center, and it's basically a series of rays and hitting different colors. That's what determines.
Either that, or I was actually about to say, like, I like the idea of literally sampling the amount of each color on the pixels that you're looking at, and having that affect the volume of different background sound effects. So it really changes dynamically, literally based on the pixels that you're looking at.
You never want to look at like one of those color chart things because it's just static.
But that'd be interesting. Like, because it wouldn't be too loud static necessarily, because it's there, it's a little bit of each of them effectively. It's only when one color really overwhelms your vision that you have a problem. I think that'd be really cool from a technical point of view to play with and see how that works. It'd be
is it actually fun in gameplay perspective? Well, that's what proof of concepts are all about.
Yeah. I'd be really interested in trying that out. Cool. 3, 2, 1, click. Sorry that sometimes our games aren't funny, but we're also tech heads and like hobbyist game developers, so we like to think about how you'd actually do these things sometimes. Hopefully that's fun for you listeners too.
Unbalanced knee.
Brutal shed. It's the shed where you keep all your weapons, like you're some sort of...
It's like, honey, I'm not feeling too great. I might pop out to the shed. You go into the shed and there's all these weapons and there's like Fight Club in there and...
Yeah, it's just this like super fucking obstacle course of attacking dummies and flipping around and doing brutal moves. I mean, I kind of like this as... What were your words again?
Unbalanced knee.
Oh yeah, that works. Because like I was just kind of thinking of this as a bit of a just like physics-based kind of almost a bit like Trials, those like BMX games, or where basically you have these maybe randomly generated or like you get a player generated. It's like, okay, I'm going out to the shed, and yeah, your shed is this huge obstacle course of like spiked logs and weapons, and it's basically do a run as fast as you can. It's sort of an action-based game that's based around, you know, getting through these levels with these different moves and stuff.
So is it a small shed that you then like pull something and you end up going down into like an underground sort of
something like
area?
That. Yes. Or you just don't explain it. It just looks like a tool shed from the outside, and then they walk in, your character walks in, and it's just
and it's a fucking TARDIS, and you know, it's bigger on the inside.
Huge space of you just pan up and see all these like saw blades and, you know, turrets and things that are shooting at you.
It's kind of like Ninja Warrior, but for masochists.
Yes, sort of. Like it's a very violent weapon-based Ninja Warrior. Because actually, yeah, I kind of like that idea of having different moves based on the weapons you might have. So if you've got like a two-handed battle axe, you can't be like swinging from monkey bars to jump over things. You have to, you know, be more brute force and damaging things. But if you're holding just a short sword, or if you've got something you can sheath or whatever, like you can do more acrobatic moves and kind of swing up or climb up things, and it'll really depend on the level being made and your play style.
Okay, I can sort of see this as sort of like a physics-based Super Meat Boy in 3D. With all the saws and shit, and sort of doing a Ninja Warrior-esque sort of thing of having to, you know, keep grip strength and all this sort of stuff. But if you stay on something for too long, then, you know, or if there's too much blood on the handles, then your grip strength is going to be a lot less.
I'm picturing something, you know, like I said, like Trials, where you just sort of go through that 3D space, and when you die, you just ragdoll. It's just like ridiculous fun. And you just like start from the last checkpoint or from the beginning instantly or whatever. Or have you seen there's a game being developed? I can't remember the guy who's doing it. But it's a gymnast, like a 3D physics-based gymnast game. Nope. Yeah, I was just sort of picturing that sort of level of, well, not exactly that sort of level, because that's fairly deep control around tucking and rolling and different things. But yeah, that sort of style. Because, yeah, and I'm almost picturing like maybe a bit of a Mario Maker style thing where you can share your levels, and, you know, you've got replays of your best run through a level, like automatically records them. And because it's all about, you know, smart ways to get through these spaces.
But it's also incredibly gory.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm picturing you can do like forward rolls and dives and stuff to like jump through a ring of fire, do a roll, attack the dummy before it, you know, swings its axe, you know, jump up before the fucking burst of flame comes out. The flamethrower.
I kind of like the idea that if your character doesn't die, then, you know, the sort of injuries that he gets, you see on the character in the next run. But if your character actually dies,
or just
then
like on the victory screen, like you can get through the victory screen, you just see them there with like a broken leg and a charred left side of their face.
It's like, well done.
You made it, or at least your body did. Still counts.
3 to 1 click.
Addressed quiz.
Crucial bracket.
So my mind went immediately to either, so the two influences that are coming in here are The Last Starfighter and Harry Potter, but for like a quiz show sort of style thing, or like a quizzing, where it's like you've been summoned by the quiz master.
It's like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire sort of thing. And you get through it and then you get contacted by these alien beings that get, take you out,
beyond the galaxy. And they're like, there's a civil war going on and the riddlers, the quizzers have taken over and they will kill us all if we don't answer their questions.
And they're all multiple choice.
They're all multiple choice, but the odds are too low for us. There's 5 options each. We can't win. We can't have 20%, 80% of our people die. Plus,
so
some of them have all of the above.
and all the questions seem to be really, really specific to Earth.
50 years ago, when you sent out that satellite, that ship into space with Earth artifacts, there was a quiz book on board. Now
but they've taken it and perverted it into
into
quizzes crossed with Sudoku, crossed with.
They keep asking us, what was Elvis Presley's first album?
I'd be like, oh God, I don't know.
Fucking hell, I don't know.
Why'd you go with such a hard question? We need to be able to answer this.
Because I figured it was because I was trying to think of something from 50 years ago when it would have been sent out or whatever. Although I just realized 50 years ago was the 70s and now I feel old. All right, 3, 2, 1, click. I don't think we've got much more on that.
No.
Pedestrian, wow.
Ingenious wiring.
Okay.
I straight away think of electronic pedestrians.
Well, or something to do with the power lines and lights and stuff, like hooking up pedestrian lights and things or traffic lights in ways to let, almost a lemming style thing, but it's about hooking traffic lights up so that cars will stop and not kill all you pedestrians or something.
Okay. So it's a puzzle game.
The clock goes off. It's 5 o'clock. It's works out. They all come out of the office building, and they're all heading one direction. Maybe, and I think you can have things where it's okay, this direction they're going to split evenly along these paths or something, and so generally where they're going to go. And then yes, it's about I've got this amount of wire and different switches, and maybe it's setting things up when a pedestrian walks over this, it flicks a switch, which changes a circuit so that this other light goes on and having them be able to get through. Yeah. There's the most efficient way to set that up.
While not backing traffic up forever. Because traffic still has to be able to make it home.
Yeah. So you still have to be able to so maybe it's doing things like setting the timings on lights and, they'll stop if the pedestrian light is set up properly and hooked up to do a red hand or whatever. And I kind of like the idea then of putting in different things travelators and different stuff. You can put those down where it's okay, I need to get them through this section faster to really get the timing of this traffic right.
Oh, that's really good.
I think that's the whole game.
Yeah, I think so. 3 to 1 click.
I think that might be a record for the most complete, idea for a game in the shortest amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this one we'll spend a lot of time on. Floppy difference.
Powerful wizard.
What? You seriously got powerful wizard? Oh my god.
Powerful wizard.
All right.
I could screenshot it if you wanted me to.
No, I believe you.
Good.
Should we be yet another person to rip off Jacob Januka's floppy guns, but we just do it with floppy wands? No, we don't want to do that, obviously. That was a dick move of that guy. Powerful wizard floppy difference. Is floppy like a 3.5-inch floppy disk from the 90s?
Yep. Is this kind of in the way that Hello from the Magic Tavern, there's, Arnie's come through to this magical realm.
Yeah.
Basically an old 386 or 486, who's connected to dial-up, has sort of come through the portal, and this regular old Joe found this computer and now has become this powerful wizard in this particular world. And he's only become a powerful wizard because he's got like knowledge of technology, basically.
Oh, I see. So this has prompted a technological revolution in this magical land.
Except he's kept it all for himself. That's why he's powerful.
So so he's become effectively a technical wizard. A technical genius.
And it's that whole thing of advanced technology in the eyes of someone who doesn't know about it. It appears magical. So
yes.
I like the idea of this powerful wizard is actually just a technologically advanced, sort of 90s era technology.
Is this a world where is actual magic, or is this a situation where it's just like a medieval style world and this
medieval style world that have never found like electricity or anything like that?
Yeah.
But then
okay, so there's no actual wizards in this world. It's that this person has become powerful through this. Okay.
Yeah, and has called himself, the wizard.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, is that the villain then? I almost feel like that's the villain.
Yeah, that's the villain.
Okay, because it feels like a little bit of a Wizard of Oz thing then.
Yes.
Where you're trying to reveal the man behind the curtain, or the floppy, as it were, behind the screen, behind the giant, heavy CRT screen that he's built.
I just love the fact that, he lives in in the same place, but he's sort of built his castle around this this rift somewhat.
I like the idea of mixing up different technological eras. So I feel like it's not just a single rift. It's not just that this one, 486 from 92 or whatever. Something's probably off on that, but has come through. It's that at different times he's been able to reach into this rift, or has been able to, or just at different times different technologies has come through, and whether that is chronological based on our technology or not. But I like the idea of he's got this mishmash of 90s, and then he's got like an original iPod that he can blast music out of, and he's got a Google Pixel 2 or something, there's different things that he's managed to, or just like a projector or something, different pieces of technology that have come through. And so while yes, he's been able to sort of take some of them apart and build different things out of them, for the most part, he's just limited to utilizing and learning to use. It's just that he's learned to use these pieces of technology from this other world.
Yep. And has kept it all to himself, because I think that's totally the dick move that so many people do. I know that we normally put these sort of characters as our villains, but I kind of like in this topsy-turvy world that this young heroine is a dentist.
A medieval dentist?
A medieval dentist.
Mostly around just pliers and...
Yeah, pliers and a mallet. Yeah. So the mallet to knock them out, and then the pliers just to rip the teeth out.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I'm thinking that her main, series of attacks for people, or her main defense is a mallet.
Sure, a weapon of choice. What sort of game are you picturing this as?
Sort of point and click slash
like RPG-ish almost?
/RPG,
Skill tree, or like open world kind of,
Yeah.
Learning all your new mallet attacks.
Yeah, but there's also the inventory and dialogue puzzles. So
yeah. So everything, just the ultimate game of all time.
Yeah, I'm taking it away from, the typical RPG where all you're doing is moving from one place to another.
Quests and No. I think we want to be a bit more focused than that. Does this tech wizard have disciples that he's sort of given little pieces of technology to or something?
Oh yeah. So, I'm picturing that some of the guards in town have tasers and these sort of things.
I was thinking iPod Nanos and a digital camera. I'm going to steal your soul with this if you don't back off.
Yeah, so I'm picturing that, this young dentist, she's really wanting to stop this wizard because her dentist office has been sort of taken over by, I don't know, maybe her dentist office was in the way of his new expansion. So he's like...
Yeah, well, I think maybe there's just an aspect of, like, he's becoming a bit of a dictator, you know, using the fear of this technology to sort of put the foot down on the people of the area and have them do his bidding.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's not afraid of a little blood. She's not afraid to knock a few teeth out. Yep. So she goes out there and kind of tries to stop him.
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing that, you know, very early on, a la your Legend of Zelda Link to the Past sort of thing, where you come up against the evil guy very early on.
Yeah.
But then, like, more things open up afterwards. So there's more stuff to actually...
So you have, like, a confrontation, basically.
Yeah.
Very early on to sort of set that relationship up.
And I'm thinking what happens is he throws her through the rift.
Oh, she gets do you play some aspects in that other world, or does she just
play some aspects in like the real world?
Our world?
And by going through the rift, she's now got some sort of link that she can now sort of early on sort of travel between as she needs to.
So she's going to be able to bring some of her own technology back.
Yeah, so it sort of becomes...
Oh, I like the idea that when she goes through the rift, she can only be there for like 30 seconds or something. And it's like, it's almost a mini game to just like find the piece of tech that you need to bring back. And maybe you've got a few choices and that can affect like what you do next.
I think what actually happens over time is one of the things I do love about A Link to the Past is that originally when you go to the other side, you can't really do anything there because you get turned into like a rabbit sort of thing, and you're going through the parallel world until you find something else. Okay. I think it's like a pearl or another thing. You can't actually really interact over there.
Yeah,
It's a really cool mechanic, and then because I'm seeing this world as literally a parallel dimension to ours. So
that's
the world is exactly the same on both sides. Like it looks exactly the same in the look of it.
Well, at least the
buildings,
the
that
landscape
are built up,
and the terrain and stuff. Yeah,
the buildings and everything are totally different because you know it's a built up city and.
Well, you could almost build on that idea of going through the rift as like a power up in a sense where whenever you go through, there's the possibility you can grab something and bring it back. It's like, oh, I got a fucking semi-automatic pistol. And so you can blast through for the, 14 bullets that you had left in there or something. And then it's like, well, this is fucking useless now. So you throw it away because it's not like you're going to find more bullets. Or it might be, someone's phone and you can, test like, I don't know, blow someone's mind with it because they've never seen it before or whatever. I don't know, like different, whether it's puzzle based or action based, I guess you can have different things. But
I mean, you saying that keeps on bring me back to the idea that I had when I was a lot younger that, a first person shooter is a point and click adventure. I point at someone's head and I click and their head explodes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just there's only one
and we're going on an adventure.
Use bullet on head. Okay, I'm really loving this idea though. I'm picturing that the final battle is she ends up going back to her dentist's office.
Okay.
Switching into the other world where it's another dentist's office, but she gets the technology and she can sort of use. I'm picturing picking up the laughing gas and a couple of other other things.
She's got like nitrous oxide grenades that she builds out of them. She's got a drill.
Yeah, and it's basically it's one of those things of all along had you gone back. Well, not that you could in the story, but when you finally realize, hang on, that's the best place to actually cross between worlds, and a rift opens up there. But I think the final thing in the game is the fact that you seal the rifts, and obviously nothing can come through anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is you're closed on the other side.
Oh, you're trapped in the other dimension?
Yeah.
And so you have to get a job as a dentist there and learn to not just knock people's teeth out.
Yeah, I know. I kind of like this idea of, had to sacrifice herself to save the world.
I don't like the idea of normalizing dentists and giving them any sort of moral code. Like, we know they're all evil. I think we have to throw this one away. Like, dentists, just irredeemable. No matter how much you kind of talk them up, make him the hero.
Maybe in this other world, when she gets there, she realizes that she doesn't want to be a dentist anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So can that bring it back in?
I mean, I guess there's sort of a redemption arc there that we could build on.
I love this thing that we've... I mean, if you haven't listened to a lot of the episodes recently, back around episode 100, we were talking a lot about evil dentists.
It's an ongoing thing. All right. I think...
We haven't talked about it in about 80 episodes.
Yeah, something like that. We bring it back, once every fucking century of episodes. You want to give me a prompt for our final?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, Trevor has a game design kind of random generator design. It actually itself comes up with some aspects of game design, so it's sort of putting us.
We haven't given it a name yet. Ben, can you use your awesome brain to think of a name for this?
Does the generator itself have a name?
Idea generator.
Idea generator. Who was the guy that made it?
Sebastian Legge.
Is it like, should we call it a legism? No, that's not good. I mean, it's just another type of prompt, right? It's just another game idea. It's putting us out of business. But we can elaborate on it. So,
an open world stealth game where you play as a geometric shape with a tendency to spontaneously combust. He will stop at nothing to defeat a magical ghost with a tendency to faint at the sight of blood.
That's interesting. All right. I like the idea of the open world stealth game.
Yeah.
Firstly. So let's throw out the rest. No, I'm just kidding. We'll try to bring more of it in. But I do like the idea of an open world stealth game because I kind of like that idea of just being able to choose a building that you want to infiltrate. Mm-hmm. And obviously you need either a lot of handcrafted stuff or some sort of procedurally generated internal buildings.
Okay. Open world stealth and geometric shape. I kind of like that in the fact that if you need to disguise yourself as another shape, you have to get a costume sort of thing.
Or maybe you're just a square and that's just, you're just smart. Like, you just don't do cool things. You're just a square. That's where we take that from.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of you being a cube that has to turn into a sphere. Disguise yourself as a sphere to get through.
Just grind off all your corners somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, you could have some interesting puzzle stuff where, part of your infiltration is around, shape-based stuff. You must have 3 or more sides to enter this area. And then, you have to find disguises of a sort where maybe you get ways to, add sides to yourself and become different geometric shapes. It's just hard to add personality to that. So what was and then who faints at the sight of blood? A ghost.
A ghost. Magical ghost.
A magical ghost. So the ghost of a wizard or a witch or...
I'm looking for another one because I'm thinking that we need to find a different one.
All right.
It's too much.
Cut this one or...
In this game, if your character ever stops moving, you start to shrink.
Is that all of it?
I'm not going to bother with the rest of it, so yes.
It does tend to add some extraneous things that are hard to build on.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. Is there a way to get bigger again is the question, I guess.
I think through a pickup, yes.
Yeah, or through some sort of something, picking something up.
Yeah.
So is the challenge getting small enough to, make your way through an area, but then not getting so small that you just blink out of existence?
Yeah, I think it's sort of like one of those, you're kind of like an Ant-Man sort of character in that if you ever stop moving, you start to shrink at a rather fast pace.
Yeah.
So if you need to shrink small enough to get inside a vent or something like that, you stop moving a la you're super hot or something like that, and you start shrinking, and then you start moving again. And while you're moving, nothing's actually happening. But the second that you stop, now I'm picturing that there's going to be elevators and stuff like that where you're going to have to keep on moving inside the elevator, or you're going to see the elevator growing around you / you going smaller and smaller and smaller.
Well, and I like the idea then, if it's sort of a somewhat action-based game, that if you're being attacked or if you're in an area where you can't stand still for whatever reason, then there's a challenge there of okay, I need to shrink a little bit while I can. Okay. And I'm picturing, yes, it gets up to a pretty quick rate, but initially the shrinking doesn't happen super fast.
Yeah.
You've got a bit of a curve there of how fast you shrink based on how long you've been standing still.
Now I'm just picturing, sort of some scenes like in Grounded, which we played the other day, that you're getting down to that sort of macro level of seeing bugs and stuff that are actually quite big, but then you find a pickup and you grow big again. It's sort of like an Alice in Wonderland, sort of like drink me and you drink it and you grow big.
I do like that idea of how, because I'm picturing how do you do that well, but you could probably come up with some sort of procedural generation where you can always generate that mini level, that micro level, down to differing sizes. Do you know what I mean? So once you get down to kind of toddler level, you start you generate just more dust and things on the ground and stuff that you can pick up maybe. And then once you get even smaller than that, you start seeing bugs and water droplets and different things.
I'm seeing it as a reverse Katamari Damacy. You know how where you start out really big and you see only big things, and then as you get smaller, you start seeing some of the smaller things.
Yeah, it's like you're fighting off mites and things. I wonder if instead of a pickup, because it seems a bit contrived to have just these things around, maybe it's like a recharge cycle of sorts where, you can grow a certain amount as your charges come back.
Oh, so when you're moving, you're basically building the charge and you can grow bigger again. But of course, that charge also affects how fast you shrink.
Yeah, potentially. Or the shrinking just happens regardless. Yep. And so it's just, okay, I need to keep moving until I can get another charge. And I don't think the charge brings you back to full size necessarily. So you've maybe got to strategize a bit about, okay, maybe your charge builds faster when you're smaller.
Yeah, so you can get back to full size.
Stay smaller for longer and get the 3 charges you need to get back to full size. But, it's dangerous because you're fighting fucking spiders and shit. I don't know.
Yeah. But no, there's just something about that if you built, a level around being big or small and having to actually stop moving to get smaller, choosing that opportune moment to actually stop moving because, you've still got enemies that you're sort of fighting against.
That's it. I think that's where the challenge comes in. And look, it would be some tricky level design, but if done well, I think that could be really cool.
Yep. So I think that does bring us to the end of tonight.
Yeah, I think we will end it there tonight. So thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find us online, you can go to podchaser.com/Bitstorm. Check out all of our previous episodes. We are coming up on episode 200, which is bizarre and weird that we've been doing this for so long now. But
very weird.
Send us some love, send us some reviews. Listen to that episode 200 when it comes up, and we'll see if we can do anything fun for it, or maybe it'll just be a regular episode. Who knows?
Yeah, or listen for it in 2 years' time when we finally come up with an idea.
Yeah, we'll just put it off. We're also part of the 8-Bit Collective. The 8-Bit Collective. And this is a group of podcasters around pop culture and video games and role-playing and all sorts of things. There's a lot of great shows up there, so go to 8bit.net and check them all out.
For all your Australasian gaming podcast needs, look for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook or at AGP Network on Twitter. And finally, we'd like to thank Kurudas for the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I am Trevor Scott.
Trevor, whenever I look at you, I hear flute music. What does that mean?
I don't know, but you appear to be a dentist.
Give me your teeth. Give me your teeth.